All right, I think we should get going. It's 7:05. Hopefully more people are going to be coming on. As I mentioned briefly before the recording started, by the way, welcome everybody. Thanks for making some of your evening available for this. So this is our 12th, sort of not counting the first one, which was kind of, we weren't even sure what we were doing then. That was kind of like a little test. But the 12th organized Beetcoin dialogue where we had, featured guests and presentations and conversations. And after this, we're going to stop for the summer, and then we're going to start again in the fall, not necessarily doing Beetcoin dialogues exactly the same way. We don't know yet, but we are starting to meet again in the fall on 9/11. We're going to have a call to farms meeting. So those of you may remember about 4 meetings ago, we had a meeting that we called Call to Farms, and Mary Berry came on. So I don't want to say too much about it tonight, but just to let you know that we are going to stop doing Beetcoin dialogues. We'll send around messaging to everybody to make sure everybody online who's been doing this knows. We've had quite a few hundreds of people who have participated in these things. Kyle says it's over 750, and since he keeps our data, that must be correct. And some of you have been true blue and come to a lot of them, which is great. So thank you for that. So tonight, we have an interesting kind of, what's the word? Kind of new conversation to have. Not only because it's in Canada, but because it's, we're going to be talking about a kind of a different way of doing slow money, if we want to put it that way, meaning, as I think everybody on the call will be aware of by now, I'm focusing on 0% loans using donated capital, and there are 5 groups, and et cetera, et cetera. But there's been a lot more going on in slow money, since we started than that. A lot of different, kind of new ways of doing things from formal to informal. And we have with us tonight Linda Best of FarmWorks in Nova Scotia, which is a very innovative fund. It's a formal fund. And I'll let Linda explain how it's working. It's quite a successful, interesting example of someone just getting the gumption to organize a small fund to do exactly the kind of thing we want to do. In her case, using an investment model rather than a charitable and 0% loan model. So Linda, thank you for joining us. And after Linda speaks, I should have done this before. Is it Jenna Jamieson? Did I have that right? Sorry, yep. Sorry, I wasn't clear on that. Who has a general store in Nova Scotia that is one of the recipients of capital from Linda. So Jenna will come on and share her experience at the store. You probably, hi Jenna. Hey, wait your turn. What are you doing? Come on. As you probably can discern, they are in Jenna's store, which is very cool. So Linda, take it away. Tell us about FarmWorks, how you started it, how it's doing, what's working, what's not, whatever. And thank you for all the great work you're doing.
Thank you. And it's great to be here. And I have with me tonight Ann Anderson. And the two of us started traveling around Nova Scotia in 2012. And that first year, without any clients, just with the idea that we were going to support healthy farms, healthy food, we raised almost $250,000. And each year since then, we've raised more and more money. And so I'm going to go through my slides, which will, and I'll speak to those as we go.
Hi, Linda. Sounds great, but there's some odd sound.
Well, unfortunately, we are in a store, and so I'm going to get as close to the mic as I can, and let me know after a minute if you can hear me. Okay.
Are you hearing refrigeration and that kind of noise in the background? Whoever said that, because there are
a lot of reverb. Yeah.
Yeah, that must be what it is. I can't hear it. We did a sound check before, so just soldier on. I think there's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately.
Okay. So I'll speak up. So can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. That's good. Okay, so what we do is invest in food entrepreneurs, and we provide mentoring and and promotion for them as well. So FarmWorks Investment Cooperative, investing in Nova Scotian food. We have a board of 14 people. All of us are volunteers, and we're all doing everything in our power to improve food-related outcomes in Nova Scotia. We're concerned not just about the money, we're concerned about the whole picture, from field to fork to future. We're working with people, communities, health, the economy, environment, and preservation of natural and built Nova Scotia. Here in Nova Scotia, about 80% of our food is imported. Global issues, as we know, are causing supply disruption. Most Nova Scotian investment capital leaves our province. There's insufficient funding for local producers. But through FarmWorks and appropriate other banks and credit unions and so on and so forth, we are finding the funds to support businesses close to home. Local production and distribution are helping to increase access to good food for many people. And we are supporting the economy, communities, health, and the environment, and adding to the quality of life now and for the future. This slide I included because it does give, oops, sorry, I went too fast. It does give an indication, because as you can see back in the earlier figures, those red lines, which are the net income, are above the cutoff, except for a couple of years. But in the last number of years, that red line has been below, or that red line has been underwater. So farmers in Nova Scotia have not been doing well. In 1960, 60% of our food was produced within the province. Now less than 20% is produced here, and of that, the largest percentage is dairy, eggs, and chicken. Average farm income has gone from 135 to 211, and now farmers' average gross income for all of Nova Scotia, which is a province of just under 1 million people, is 8 million per year. So farmers are not doing well. The need for farm work is ever increasing. And this is just a sidebar. Milk in 1960, milk cost $2.16 here, and now it's $1.90. So farmers are doing the best they can to feed us, and they're not being rewarded. Here's one major challenge that everybody is pretty much aware of. In Canada, about 46% of the calories consumed are highly processed food. And I don't have to explain to you what that's doing to our health, to our economy, to the environment. And so FarmWorks is providing solutions. This is across Nova Scotia. Doesn't show them all clearly, of course, but these are some of the 143 farms and restaurants and processors and distributors and small stores like Jenna's that we have supported. The Community Economic Development Investment Fund, this is a long slide, but it may be of interest, was set up by the government in 1999 in an effort to stimulate local economic development. And the program was designed to keep taxpayer dollars in the province, because 98% of the registered retirement savings that people were investing was leaving Nova Scotia, and still mostly is. This model is a result of extensive public consultation that highlighted the importance of developing funding sources within the community, and CEDARs provide tax advantages to individuals who invest in local projects. They can't be charitable, non-taxable, or non-profit, positioning them as a hybrid between funds focused solely on maximizing economic return and pure philanthropy. So FarmWorks shares, which are $100 each, support a range of farms and businesses, preserving investor capital, and the return, the primary return to investors is a 35% Nova Scotia tax credit for the past year, and that can be carried back 3 years or forward 7 years. And then at 5 years and another 5 years, there's 20 and 10% credits. When people put their registered retirement money into FarmWorks, they get a federal tax deferral as well as a provincial tax credit. And that can be done with existing RRSPs that can be moved into FarmWorks as well. So just to go back to that, in 2018, most of the 924.5 million invested in RRSPs by 126,000 Nova Scotians left the province. On the other hand, FarmWorks to date has raised 4.6 invested from 510 shareholders. Currently, it's actually about 75% is repaid principal and interest monthly. So with that money coming back in and going back out again, we've been able to lend 7.4 million to, actually that number is now 143 clients. And we have a number of papers that have been written describing the significant socioeconomic gains that have been achieved through FarmWorks. When it comes to lending, there's no application or legal fees or other charges. We require the usual application, business plan, projections, credit score, and so on and so forth, because we do a significant amount of due diligence because the program does not allow us to take any security. So the security that we have is the relationship that we form with our clients, such as Jenna. There's no payments for the first 3 months. We are as flexible as we need to be in order to help that business continue to grow. What we've heard in surveys was that in FarmWorks, in addition to the loans, our clients appreciate the connections, the advice and mentoring and encouragement and promotion, and the fact that we work tirelessly to raise awareness of their businesses and of food-related businesses generally. 43% of our clients, it's still in that range, are farms, restaurants and cafes, about 21%, beverage production, and stores and processing, about 36% in total. And our clients certainly contribute to their communities, and so the employment and provision of healthy food that's closer to the customers, the raising of awareness. They raise awareness, of course, of local food themselves. They're supporting their communities. Many of them, places like Jenna's, for example, are community hubs. That's where you meet your neighbors. And of course, they're buying from other local businesses. And that part is, of course, very important to us because we want to grow those relationships between businesses. This was quite surprising to us that 61% said that it was not likely, and 37% somewhat likely that they would not have succeeded without FarmWorks. So that points out the necessity of what we are doing. So I'll just run through a couple of these slides because it'll give you an idea of the range of businesses that we are supporting in this province, all the way from made with local bars that are being sold right across Canada, and farms and coffee shops and burger places, bakeries. We have a number of breweries. One restaurant, this Lupin restaurant, had the pleasure of hosting the Prime Minister of Canada and his wife on their anniversary the other night. And so that's a quick overview of FarmWorks. And so I'll get out of the share and come back. And shall I introduce Jenna now, or are there questions for me before we hear from Jenna?
I think we should go right into Jenna's, and then we can just go into the conversation after.
Okay, good. Jenna Jamieson, and the first thing we're going to do tonight, where to go, is today when I came here, I brought a check for Jenna.
Thank you, Linda.
Because she borrowed from us a while ago, but now she's borrowing more to expand into another location. So Jenna.
Hi, everyone. So this is Jamieson's General Store. It's a whopping 400 square feet, and it's packed floor to ceiling with local products. You're probably wondering why on earth we have so much shoved in such a tiny, tiny space. Well, there's not a lot of options for retail spaces in Tammagouche where I am, so we had to take what we could get. We have a 190 square foot kitchen that doubles as a stock room. We anticipated opening spring of 2020, and then of course COVID happened. So that put a damper on our plans, but it actually ended up being really good for us. I put it out on social media to see. I had all of these connections. I had met Anne and Linda at FarmWorks. We had gone through, I met some of their clients like Bramble Hill. They make microgreens year round. They grow microgreens year round. And then there's a young lady, Emma, has a similar store to me in Musquodoboit Harbor. I met her, I went and shadowed her at her store. So we have very similar concepts. Her store is located on another shore in Nova Scotia. And so I put it out there to social media and I said, would anyone like doorstep delivery? During COVID, during lockdown, everyone was terrified. We didn't really know what was going on. 100 people said, yeah, we'd totally be interested. And I was like, oh, 100 people. Okay, sure. Fully expecting to get 35 or 50 orders was a stretch goal for me. In our first 36 hours of opening our orders for online, we received 96 orders for doorstep delivery. And during the peak of COVID, we were doing 160 orders a week across 3 counties. So that was like a 2.5 hour radius that we would deliver to. And it was just myself and one other person. So we would pack the orders. It started with produce box, which was microgreens and a few local veggies that were in season. And they had their option to add meat, cheese, and dairy. So you could add local milk, non-homogenized milk from Foxtail, yogurt, cheese, bread, minimal baked goods from a local bakery, and like ground beef and chicken. And that's all we kind of started with for your boxes. So you could get a small produce box or a large produce box. And then you could add your necessities, and we kind of just grew from there. We added a local chip company, we added a local soda company, we added kombucha, we added flour, we added everything. We now have over 70 local suppliers from the province of Nova Scotia, which is about 250 to 300 products. Then we moved into the spring. We still operate our delivery service to this day, and it is 20% of our annual sales. So even though COVID is on its way out and deliveries are definitely way down, we do about 10 to 12 a week. We do 20 at peak. So in the wintertime, we'll do more when the roads aren't as good and the snow and older community, they don't want to leave their house. It gets dark really early. It's a convenience of having local products delivered to your doorstep. We also have meal kits that we offer. So like HelloFresh and Good Foods and Chef's Plate, you can pick on our website. There's salads, steak dinners, different recipes that are all using local ingredients. So rather than you going out and buying everything you need to make a new dish, we offer that as well as a way to reduce produce waste. In our commercial kitchen, we make soups, frozen meals. That all started, we had an extra turkey. We had one extra free range turkey because I accidentally ordered one too many. And I said, well, I don't want this in my freezer for a ridiculously long time. So we decided to make some turkey dinners. So we made turkey dinners in our kitchen, made homemade stuffing, homemade gravy, mashed potatoes, carrots, stuffing, the whole 9 yards. And they sold out. We had single men who lived by themselves, who were older, who wanted a nice home cooked meal, and they were buying stacks of them. And I said, geez, it's January. Isn't everybody sick of turkey dinners yet? But no. So through trial and error, we've realized all these little things that our community needs, and that people want good quality meals that they can just take out of their freezer for convenience and reheat. But it's, you know, it's not a Swanson's turkey dinner. It's free range turkey, spray-free veggies, homemade products with good, it's not gravy from a package. Everything we do is homemade, and everything that we use for ingredients is local. And at the end of the day, it helps us cut down on waste, which is awesome. So like we wrinkled peppers, we make pepper steak, which we have available in the freezer. Beef and broccoli we have as a frozen meal. We make a roasted red pepper dip. We make sweet potato hummus. Anything we can do to reduce that waste, we will convert into product that our customers can buy. So now we have a 400 square foot space. We also rent a space on Saturdays in our farmers market for a zero waste bulk section. So customers can bring empty jars in, fill up products of bulk goods. So flowers, peas, candies, dried legumes, seeds, coffee, tea, all of that. They can just bring in, they get their jars weighed. We write down the weight, they take them over, they fill them up, they bring it back, we weigh it, subtract the weight of the jar, and customers carry on their way. We also have shampoo, conditioner, hand wash, and body wash from a company in Quebec. We have dishwashing detergent, laundry detergent, cleaning and oxygen bleach powder that's made by a local company here in Nova Scotia as well. So we have a wide variety that people can shop from of our bulk section as well. We just opened that a few weeks ago. That was 2 years in the making. We just had our 2nd year anniversary this past March. And at the end of this month, we are opening a 2nd location in Pictou County, which is about an hour away from where we are here. And it's our highest volume of delivery customers to this day. So the very cool thing about the delivery service, not only did we fill a need during COVID, and we continue to fill a need, it also gave us a really good insight onto where our customers are and what they're buying. So if it wasn't for that delivery service, I would have never said, hey, I'm going to open a store an hour away. I don't know if I have a customer base. I don't know if it will work. Well, because I have 8 to 12 people that consistently order from there, and it was like even to this day, and it was the peak. I would say it was 60% of our orders on average were coming from that concentrated area. So that gave us the insight to say, hey, we do have customers here. There's a need for local products. They don't have options available to them now. This is where a future store will go. And then the opportunity kind of just presented itself. We have a very unique location that we'll be renting from the town of Pictou, and it's bringing new life to their former CN train station. Any questions?
How are you doing all that? No, that's and still smiling.
Yeah, I'm crazy. I'm crazy.
Yeah,
that's why.
right. Yeah. All right. Well, before so I've been looking in the chat room. There are comments and whatnot, but there weren't too many questions. But the most obvious one that leapt out at me was the question about interest, Linda, about what kind of interest rates you're charging on your loans. So why don't you talk a little bit about that and about returns to the investors again, like what are investors expecting?
Yes. So we charge a flat 6% interest to our clients. As I said, there's no charge for no payments for the first 3 months. And then we are flexible. Through COVID, we had only about 50% of our clients who actually had anywhere from 2 to 4 months of a break. And so we, in fact, didn't lose any clients during COVID. We are, because we're not a bank, we are able to be flexible. We're able to be there to talk to people when they need that information. What was the second part of your question, Woody?
Just about how the investors are expecting to get returns. I mean, you mentioned the tax benefits on the front end, but that's going to be generally known. I think no one's going to know exactly what that adds up to.
Yeah. So the 35% and 20% and 10% over 15 years adds up to 4.6% per year in total per year. So if somebody comes on for the first 5 years, that 35% is the equivalent of 7% per year. We have, it took us a while to grow, of course, because we have the usual amount of administrative costs, and we answer to the Nova Scotian Securities Commission and the Department of Finance. We have to pay accountants, and we do have some part-time help. So we have had a certain amount of loss, but we had anticipated a level of loss, and we've not reached that level of loss. So we're very happy about that. We've had a lot of discussions with our shareholders, and most of them are investing in FarmWorks because they believe in what they do. They understand what the challenges are. And so we have not had any significant pushback about the fact that to this point, we have not been paying a dividend. The money, any profit that unfortunately some of it is going to the Canada Revenue Agency more than we would have expected. Any profit is being put back into the businesses. So there is, there's a pretty significant, I mean, I would rather my money, my retirement money was all in FarmWorks rather than with some of it with the bank, because I'm actually, that tax credit is worth more to me than what I'm getting from the bank. So does that answer your question, Woody?
I believe it does, but we'll hear from everybody else if they have questions. So hey Wally, are you able to jump on if I ask you something? I see you're in the chat room, but I don't know if you have are you hearing me? I was just wondering. I mean, I could ask, or I could. Is that Wally coming on? No, wait, hang on, I'm admitting somebody. So I'm just curious how someone else who's involved in a food co-op, reacts to the story of this tiny store, making a go of it with such small square footage and whatnot. Wally, are you there or not? We have someone who's very involved in a food co-op in Lincoln, Nebraska. We have Kay, and I don't know if Kay and Tim want to say anything about that. Do you want to jump in and offer any comments from Lincoln, Nebraska? I assume you guys are. I assume you guys are involved in the co-op.
We are members of the co-op, but we're not involved in the fundraising that's going on right now, other than giving money. So I think Wally will probably come back on. He's the best person, I think, to answer that. He and Carla McCullough are the chairs of the fundraising committee at this point.
Okay, well, I'll try to, I don't know where it says he's here, but so yeah, it's just kind of, to me, I'm just kind of amazed at how hard you're working in the coverage area. I mean, you say 2.5 hours, like it's, I mean, that's a lot with a limited staff.
Yes, we have more staff now. We have about 8 people. So I have 2 delivery drivers. We have 2 delivery drivers, 4 storefront staff, and then I have 2 cooks in the kitchen. So with pickling season, it's something that we started to do last year. We were able to start pickling as well as to reduce our waste. So especially with beans. So we have a lot of spicy beans that we have here for Caesars and things like that, mixed drinks. But I should specify, we started in a rec center. So we started out of a community hall, essentially, is where we started packing our orders. So that's kind of where the store started, because it was 3 months ahead of schedule. I thought I was going to be packing these orders out of my kitchen. I didn't even have enough space in my kitchen for all the boxes I needed. Like my first shipment of boxes got sent to my house and it took up the entire kitchen. And I was like, this isn't going to work. Where are we going to do this? And someone from one of the local community centers reached out and said, hey, if we can help in any way. And I was like, yeah, can I use your space? That would be great. And then that's kind of how we started. We were there for about 4 months. We moved out in July, I think. We started in March, but the store opened in June. So there was a little bit of overlap. We were still packing orders at the rec center just because there wasn't the space to pack that many orders in the run of a week. And then the following year we had more lockdowns and then orders went up again. And yeah.
So you said 3 counties, if I got that right.
Yeah, 3 counties. So we do
that are in the way you've defined your service area, basically.
Yeah.
What's the population of those 3 counties approximately?
Oh gosh,
Approximately.
it's a good question.
Probably 150,000.
Wow. So that qualifies as quite rural, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think so.
I'll give you a bit of information for those who are maybe interested. Nova Scotia has a population, we just hit 1 million, and it's 441 kilometers from Cape Breton to Yarmouth. The bulk of the population, around 450,000, are in Halifax, another 200,000 in Sydney area, and the rest are spread pretty widely across Nova Scotia. So the density of population across the province is not great, which is great because it means that there's still lots of room for food to be grown. And as I mentioned, when we look back to 60 years ago or to the 60s rather, and realize that 60% of our food was being grown in Nova Scotia at that time. We are way too dependent on Quebec, Ontario, the Central Valley of the United States, but we have the capacity not to grow some of the things that are grown there that we do need, but there are lots of things that we should be growing here and can. And so part of the reason for us we started Healthy Farms, Healthy Food, and then we realized that we needed to do a lot more promotion with using wonderful chefs to showcase the wonderful foods that can be grown here in Nova Scotia. And so we have, in addition to Jenna, we have another 140 wonderful stories. And one of our aims has to be to get those stories out, because it's wonderful for us to be able to showcase Jenna, but we need to ensure that more people in Nova Scotia have a better understanding of just what we can do here. I had the good fortune last night to have a conversation with the Premier of Nova Scotia, and I mentioned to him that we used to provide 60% of our own food. He came back a little while later and he said, 60%? Okay, so maybe he will adopt that too as a guideline for us. So, Jenna, how do you relate to the local businesses? Do they tend to come to you, or do you do that?
It's a mixture. I'm a big believer in inclusion makes us stronger. So even in town, we have like a meat abattoir, a butcher shop. We have someone that makes chocolate. We have someone that roasts coffee here, like in town. So when I say in town, it's Tatamagouche, and we have a population of 1,500 people. And the second store that we're opening is moving to Pictou, which is the town, has a population of 3,000 people. It might be a little bit bigger now. So we're moving to something, or sorry, no, it's 3,500. So it's 1.5 times bigger than it is here. And so we get things from all kinds of local communities. We have a bakery that's 20 minutes away that we bring goods in from. I do have a lot of people that are seeking us out now because we've been around for a couple of years. We bring in fresh croissants and sourdough every Friday, and we have those as part of our delivery service as well. And they're all just excited to be able to get those products. We recently launched our zero waste line in conjunction with our bulk section. And those are all products that I sourced from Canadian companies. Oh yes, and Tatamagouche ice cream, which is another FarmWorks supporter. How could I forget Daniel? He'd kill me if he knew I didn't mention him first. But that's another FarmWorks customer that's being supported, and we carry their products here. It's a little ice cream shop in town, but they make delicious ice cream that doesn't have preservatives or sulfactants in it. So it's real taste, real cream, real ingredients. And you make some incredible flavors like pistachio or maple salted caramel, and it's really, really good. Yeah.
So Jenna, how far of a drive is it to the nearest supermarket?
Here, it's only about 5 minutes away, but it's not a big grocery store. So to drive to a large standard grocery store, you're looking at anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, depending on which direction you're going to go. So the grocery store that we have here might have 10 aisles and then a produce section. It's called a food land. It's not like Sobeys and Superstore are the big ones in Canada. And this is like their small subsidiary. So their grocery stores made for rural communities. Prices are expensive. They're more expensive than they are in town because there's no competition. And because of that, they also don't embrace a lot of local products. I've definitely made them step up their game a little bit since opening in town. I've definitely
that was gonna be my next question. Yeah, good.
Yeah, last year they all had these adorable shirts that the staff wore that said, "I'm local too," which I just kind of chuckled. And then I wish I had one here. There's a magazine that is put out along the North Shore, so across like 3 counties. And we take the entire back page, and they're all sitting at the end of the grocery store checkouts. And I like to go by and flip them over because it's just our big logo and a picture of our store. I'm a little cheeky that way. I don't know. I feel like because they do these little things, like they'll buy strawberries from the same place I buy strawberries, and they'll sell them less than what they paid them for them, just to get people through the door. And then I look like the bad guy because I'm selling strawberries at a true value price, and they're selling them for less than we can buy them wholesale.
As
a loss leader, just to get people through the door.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Say a little bit more, just keep going on that theme a little bit. Say a little bit more about local versus organic. I mean, my first, I guess, tying it back to the food land, like how many of their 10 aisles,
Yeah.
or just say by percentage, like what percentage of the stuff they carry in the store is organic, and then what percentage is local? I don't know if you could say about the local, but just give me some.
I don't even know. I would say less than 5% is local.
Yeah.
I would say less than 5%.
And what about organic?
Oh,
Industrial organic,
less
whatever.
like, yeah, I would say smaller. They have a very small, I think you can get like organic peanut butter, you can get an organic salsa, some organic chips, maybe some organic pasta. It's really not a big selection. And I think buy organic in the store in terms of produce is pretty much by chance. They might have one staple of a lettuce, but aside from that, it's not. So we buy organic and spray-free as much as possible. But a lot of the things that we buy are grown in greenhouses, so they're spray-free anyway. We have a lovely farm at our fingertips. Waldegrave is an organic farm that's just down the road. And you know, how nice is it that I can go pick up the spring mix that she has for me and tell customers, this was just harvested last night. So
Right,
that's pretty.
So
yeah.
I think it's obvious from your story that people are valuing fresh and local. So the question, how far is organic like a way distant second, if you will? It's really the local fresh part that is really driving everybody
local
in.
fresh, but we do definitely have a strong people that want organic or buying organic. So we have grass-fed beef and free-range chicken as well. But people they come in and they ask. So it'd be hard for me to separate, is it the organic or the local? I feel like there's a point where they're tied, like they're interchangeable.
Yeah, that's good. That's
yeah.
good. Linda, same question to you, kind of across your 140 or I forget whatever that number was, 140-ish portfolio loans that you've made. Of those enterprises and farms, what percentage of them are certified organic? And certified, I'm not asking with any charge about certification per se. I'm just curious, and just talk a little bit about the whole organic thing and how it's playing out in Nova Scotia.
I wish I could give you higher numbers than I am able to give you. The cost for registering each specific vegetable and so on has become has increased to the point where we have a number of clients who basically are organic, but they are not registered as certified organic because of the cost. So I would say that in all of Nova Scotia, we have maybe 5% of our food that is certified organic, and maybe 25% of what is grown locally is actually organic, to the best of people's ability. Because everyone believes in it, but the challenges, I've heard farmers talk about the day that the inspector was coming, they were just like this, because it is challenging. And so while we support it, we would have great difficulty. We've had to answer this question many times. Why do you support people who are not organic? Well, if we didn't, we'd lose a lot of local food.
Yeah, it's interesting to just hear your guesstimate on those percentages. So in the first 0% loan group in slow money that started in Carbondale, Colorado, 5 or 6 years ago, that was the first pioneering thing of our 0% model. One of the anchor farmers who joined early was kind of a very, very passionate, I think zealous would not be too strong of a word, biodynamic farmer. And he subsequently, after about 3 years, he quit the club because the club was not insisting on certified organic. In other words, he just said, there's no way around it. He just kind of he went really hardcore, and we tried to keep him, we hated to see him go because he's a wonderful guy and a great farmer, but he just kind of drew the line there. So it's an interesting issue, a tricky, interesting issue. And I'm guessing, Brian, I don't know if you want to jump in here, but how do you think those percentages compare? So Brian's lives in Boulder County, very active in slow money and a whole bunch of things, including our 0% loan group, and is running a $30 million fund for the state of Colorado now. But I'm just curious, the question I want to ask you, Brian, is do you think that that was like you said about Linda, about 80% of the farmers who are farming organically are not actually getting certified? That was your guesstimate. And it's okay. I'm just curious, Brian, how you would, what you would have to say about that ratio, let's say in Boulder County, if you had to guess.
I think it's probably about 60% in Boulder County. There's a pretty high premium put on the marketing value of the organic certification. But I think a lot of farmers understand it's expensive, it's cumbersome, it's a lot of paperwork. And when you're selling direct to consumer, you have the opportunity to actually share the message without the logo having to validate. Yeah. So for small market farmers, I'd say it's probably about 60% that are not choosing certification.
Yeah, we have to be careful. I mean, there's no direct comparison there because Boulder is a different kind of market. The county of Boulder has about 300,000 people in the one county, and the city has 150,000 people in it. So it's much more concentrated, a bunch of other factors there, but that's interesting. So Brian asked a question in the chat room, and it kind of mirrors something that Lee Slaff from Santa Cruz, California asked earlier. So they're kind of questions to say more about due diligence, to say what you mentioned it in your presentation, Linda, and I was, it immediately occurred to me, like in our 5 0% loan groups, 4 of them are hyper local. One of them in Virginia is kind of doing what you're doing. It's like the whole state, so it's a much broader thing. So they have to manage that a little differently. The 4 in Colorado are hyper local, and due diligence takes on a very different, you almost don't have to use the word due diligence because that's a professional investment term, right? But the way we vet the deals is very different because we're very close to one another, and there's a lot of social capital there and a lot of direct familiarity by the time a farmer comes in to make a presentation, which is different in your model because you have a much more geography. So can you just say a little bit more about due diligence? You made it sound like it's easy and it's kind of working pretty well, but I think those of us
It-
who've done it in
yeah,
the past are kind of wondering about that.
It is working well, but it's working well because there are a tremendous number of hours of work and conversations and visits. And over the last 2 years, Zoom calls. And we then, after we collect all of the application, the business plan, financials, past and current and projections and credit score. And I go on Google and look up to find anything that I might discover that hasn't been revealed to us. And then we have all of that is aggregated and sent to 3 directors. Some of whom may know the specific area or in fact the client. And those 3 directors answer about 26 questions. And here beside me has, I say it takes everybody 2 hours. Anne always says that it's more like 3 or 4 hours to go through all of that. And we do all of that and send it out to the full board for a vote. So the due diligence is interesting, it's challenging, and it's working. There was a question, somebody asked a question.
Hang on a second, Linda. I just want to know if did that answer Lee and Brian's question enough? Is there anything you want to, any follow on there?
That was great. Thank you so much. It's so interesting to hear, what you're doing and how you actually do it, what the nuts and bolts of the process are.
One thing I will say is that I have spoken in PEI, in New Brunswick, in Ontario several times, in BC several times, in Edmonton. People who want to do what we are doing with the C. diff in Nova Scotia. And it's been really difficult to get other governments to literally step up to the plate. But it's very much needed because farmers really do need more support. As I said, the geopolitical issues that we are all challenged by at this point in time need to be addressed. And in the United States, and I think that I have the American figure, 1.7% of Americans have any first or second degree relationship with a farm. And I expect that's the same here. We heard the other day from somebody that don't even think about going to a commercial bank here to borrow money for a food related business because there's nobody in a bank who knows anything about food production. And that's a kind of a sad commentary. So the work that Slow Money is doing and the work that we're doing here is pretty critical, I would say.
Thank you so much.
I'm just noticing the last comment that came in the chat room. I just would commend it to everybody. Chris Bork is just talking about the challenges of certification. In his case, he's referring to honey. Hi, Chris. Thanks for the comment. Yeah, I hope nobody misinterpreted my question about certification. I mean, it's a very, let's say it has 2 sides, at least, in terms of its value and all the negatives that come with institutionalizing certification, whatever. And one thing is, crystal clear to me, and all the experience of Slow Money has reinforced this, is that the closer you are physically and socially to the thing you're investing in, the less need you have of third-party certification, right? So that issue kind of goes away when you're right there. I mean, there's always an issue of trust and whatever, but it's a very different thing when you're right there. And it's another thing if you're trying to get a product on a shelf of a store that's far away and you need to tell a story to a customer and there's trying to be verification, much more complicated set of things. So, but thank you for that comment, Chris. I'm assuming everybody looked at it. I hope you did. And then someone, I don't remember, I don't remember who it was, asked for further information about the structure of the fund. Maybe it was Brian. Was that you, Brian, who asked that? No, but I'm not sure what the question, maybe it was Lee, said to say something more about the structure of the fund. So I'm not sure what they were after. Whoever asked that. Was that you, Lee? No.
It might have been me, and what I was really interested in understanding is who actually runs the fund, who does the investing and the disbursement of the money. Do you have employees? How does that work?
Sorry, would you repeat that for me again?
Sure.
I'll
Yeah.
repeat
Okay.
it just to make sure the sound
Yeah.
is okay. She's just asked for more. She wants you to, she didn't find your first presentation credible because she couldn't believe that you were doing all the fund management. So she wanted you to say more about who is managed, how is the fund managed, everything from, you know, managing the flows of capital and the reporting and disbursements and the rest.
Well, you see Ann here beside me. The two of us, with the support of a board of directors, have done the bulk of the work over the last number of years. You also may notice there's some gray hair here. So we have a full-time part-time bookkeeper who was a manager of a local company, and she's working with us now. But the biggest challenge for us is that relationship with government, because we have to prepare a brief, basically an IPO that goes to the Securities Commission and to the Department of Finance, and that has to be, they don't approve it, they non-object it. And that allows us to go out to raise money. And then as that money comes in, it goes into a credit union in trust. Once we have met the criteria, which is the minimum, we've raised the minimum amount, we are then able to move that money into FarmWorks. And that's where the due diligence starts. So and I've been the one who sits in the chair with the computer in my lap, aggregating all of that information for the due diligence and getting it out. So it's hugely challenging, but it is hugely rewarding. And I'll get a little bit personal here. I believe that I have lived through the best of times. And I believe that I have a responsibility to put back into our world in this very tiny way, because there are a lot of challenges, and I've had a good life, and boy, oh boy, because of our clients, do I ever eat well. True enough. Did that answer the question?
It looks like it did from the nods I'm hearing. So, it's what you're basically saying is how do we say this? If I translated what you just said to the perspective of a small farmer who has off-farm income, and people are criticizing and saying the farm isn't viable because the farm also needs some off-farm income. All of these comments are in the same thing. It's not about efficiency anymore. It's not about the drive for efficiency and scale so that things pencil out. And the fact that your operation is so small that it requires a huge amount of volunteerism does not mean it is not a valid enterprise. It's just a different model. Like, you're motivated by different things. Everybody on this call, I think we can kind of stipulate, is not motivated by maximizing profit.
Yeah.
We're all trying to assert a different set of values. So I know the word countercultural is laden because it goes. You mentioned the '60s, Linda, so it's okay. So now I can say the word counterculture. But whatever that, it is a countercultural. We live in a culture of fast, cheap, efficient, scale, institutional flows of capital over. So you're describing, when you get down to doing it at the level we're doing it, it requires lots of volunteer time. And I wish Tana Schultz was on the call tonight, because Tana, Brian, and I, for years, were kind of like the main drivers of the Slow Money Group in Boulder. Others were very active, so I'm not trying to dismiss them too, but we probably put in quite a bit more time than the others. And now, since I've left Boulder, other people have stepped up. It's a beautiful thing to see. But yes, it just requires an inordinate amount of time and energy. And if you have to find it to be rewarding, which clearly you do, Linda, and you too, Anne. So
well, and I've been using this term. I kind of hate to think about it, but when I was born, there were just over 2 billion people in the world. Now there's just under 8. So when we look at the big picture, a lot of us, like all of you, have to continue to do what you're doing to mitigate the damages that we collectively, without malice in most cases, are doing to our world. So every little thing that we can do, for example, we're helping people to switch to regenerative farming. We're doing everything we can and to help people in that regard. We're supporting people like Jenna and Uprooted and various other stores that are in local communities that are doing like Jenna, to buy as locally as possible, to cut down the travel. We're trying to make sure that our people are buying locally so that we're not eating off the back of people who do not have the advantages that we have. And I had somebody say that to me some time ago, that that they didn't feel it was actually quite fair for us to be having cheap food at the expense of people who who didn't have health care and education and so on and so forth. So there's a whole range of Jay Wells, come and visit us. And any of you, come to Nova Scotia. I was at the Tourism Association of Nova Scotia meeting yesterday and today, and I just want to welcome anybody to come here and visit us in Nova Scotia. I'll give you a tour of as many of our businesses as I possibly can.
All right, that sounds like an invitation for a slow money junket to Nova Scotia at some point.
Yeah.
So maybe we should try to do that. Let's, I don't know if everyone's running around quite that much yet, but maybe you are. Let's hold that as a possible thing to do. So we're at the hour mark. I mean, Linda, I can't, you said it, you said it, you're doing it. It's beautiful. I think I endorse wholeheartedly what you said and all the other things you could have said about our generation and about the global situation and whatnot. And I'm about to recirculate to everybody a second version of a second expanded, I know you can't believe it, but an expanded version of the Call of Farms essay based on comments I got from a lot of people to the first one. And I think we have to dare, if that's not too strong of a word, to imagine that the localization thing can really blossom into a much more widespread movement in the next few decades. And that however small scale all these little efforts are right now, we can't be kind of daunted by the scale of what we're doing against the scale of the problems. We just have to look at what we're doing as seeds, and seeds are small. And it's so Linda, thank you so much. Everybody stay tuned for the next Call to Farms thing, and then watch for some messages we'll be sending out over the summer as we kind of in the run up to the meeting on 9/11. And I just want to thank everybody for coming twice a month. I know you didn't do every single one of them, but a lot of you did multiple ones, and thank you for that. It's been a very gratifying experience, and have a great summer, and we'll see you on 9/11, and we'll be in touch before. So thank you all. And
Woody, just one note, farmworks.ca, anybody wants more information, see our offering documents and so on and so forth, everything about our history. There's a few broken links I haven't caught up with, but everything about our history is there.
All right, thanks, Linda. And Kay and Tim, stay on for 1 second. I want to ask you something. I'm going to stop the recording here.